amazing topics that we are here to share with you guys. So let's get started.
Welcome to Jasmine Pollock's First Impression Sports Talk, the fastest growing sports talk show in the country. And now, here's your host, Jasmine Pollock.
Welcome back to Jasmine's First Impression Sports Talk. And tonight, we're going to have an amazing show for you guys. I have my dad here again and Jeremiah again for an amazing night. So to get started, we saw a crazy weekend in sports, whether that's college and whether that's NFL. So we're going to start with this. And I'll start with you, Dad. Are the Bills, after beating the Kansas City Chiefs handedly last night, are the Bills now the front runners in the AFC?
I'll give them a slight edge. The problem is the Chiefs, and I think I said it a couple weeks ago, I think the Chiefs are dealing with some issues team-wise. They're still explosive, but the Chiefs have had some opportunities on their defense for a very long time. And I think, teams are catching up to that high-speed attack that they have. And now, the Bucs kind of gave the formula last Super Bowl, and teams have really caught on to that. And I think that, barring what's happening to the Ravens tonight, I do think the Ravens are a very strong candidate for the top team in that. And I'm just going by experience. The Bills still have to experience and actually do the job, with their coaching staff. Do I think they're a dominant team? Absolutely. But I have to see them down the stretch to, give them the crown, right now. So I mean, I will give them a slight edge, but the Baltimore Ravens they're not too far behind.
Well, Dad, remember the Bills were in the AFC Championship last year.
That's true. That's very true.
So I mean, they are on the verge of then they didn't lose badly in that game. So you never know, like them beating the Chiefs like that and them just dominating that they could be the it right now. To you, Jeremiah, do you think the Bills now are the front runners in the AFC?
I think most definitely that they are, because just to see this team, how far they came, and from where they started, just from when they drafted Josh Allen, you was thinking that this was going to be years and years of just a rebuild with everything else, but how they made it work with everything that they kind of put together, actually adding Diggs, adding a lot of draft pieces, and their elements, they're great on both sides of the ball. You've seen them just this year when they had their first loss, this season and everything else. You had your certain questions and everything else, but then after that, it's just like they turn on a certain switch, and they're dominating teams by like triple or double digits. It's really insane because they look so dominant to the way that you can say this team can make the Super Bowl one day. But I also agree when it comes to your dad, when he says, we haven't seen anything yet when it comes to it. And of course, they did make it to the conference championships and everything else, but they just missing that one step to get to the Super Bowl. And I feel like they need to go through those times and everything to kind of prove to everybody else, because you can be good and everything else, but when it gets to the playoffs, you need to put those things into your whole element. And I feel like getting to that next spot and everything else, that's all what they need to just show me that they're that team. But right now, they're looking like the most confident team, I say, in the whole AFC.
So you both agree that they're not there yet?
Not all the way. They look good. They look very good because they're strong right now. They're the best team in there right now in the AFC.
Dad, go ahead, Dad.
Oh, no, I'm just saying I think they have a slight edge. Yes, if you're talking about a team top to bottom, yeah, they have a slight edge. But when it comes down to it, I mean, I still believe in the Ravens, because they're going to have to see the Ravens sooner or later. And whether or not they beat them, they still got to get the playoffs. And I still think that the coaching experience in the playoffs is going to be a big deal. And so we'll see. And it's time for Lamar to take that turn anyway. Let's go.
It has to be. His thing is on thin ice right now when it comes to, what's expected. That fan base is looking for a championship. No more MVPs. It's like championship now.
Here's my thing. I do think the Bills by a long shot are the best team in the AFC. Like, I like the Ravens. I do think the Ravens are contenders. They are, but what I'm seeing from this Bills team with their quarterback, their receivers, the coaching, they are dominant in the AFC. Besides, and also, you got to think of the Chargers. They're also there too, but we're talking about the Bills. But the Bills right now, to me, by a long shot, it's not even close, that they're the best team right now. It's just they were a game away from the Super Bowl, and they did not lose by much. I believe it was 27-24 in last year's AFC conference game.
So I got a quick question about that. So remember, we're going to go on the other side. So after the Rams beat the Bucs, you thought they were the most dominant team in the league, right? A lot of people hate them. Rams the team. But what happened when they saw the Cardinals?
Got exposed.
No, but what I'm saying is that I look at the Bills kind of the same way. When is that test coming? And I think the Bills still have, because I don't think the Chiefs are the same team. And you got to be real careful taking something from that Chiefs team, because that's not the first loss the Chiefs had. Now, I believe the Chiefs are last in their division, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so are the Chiefs in worse situation? And I think that we have to see a little bit more from the Buffalo Bills, in my opinion. And it's just that battle testing thing, So what are the Bills? Yeah, they went to the championship last year, but at the same time, it's going to come down to who's the better coach, who executes the best. That's in every Sunday, that's what it is. But I just think that we have to see a little bit more. I have to see more from the actual Bills to be like, hey, because, I'm still stuck in the old ways. You're thinking about the Patriots, and now the Patriots are, they're not what they were. And it's like, am I ready to give the crown to the Buffalo Bills? Not just yet.
Yeah, because, the Chiefs were the only team that was standing in their way from going to that championship.
My thing, I'm not disagreeing with that, but it's just for what I'm seeing, especially even the year prior, they went to the divisional round. Then they went to the AFC championship.
Right.
Now, question mark is still in a Super Bowl. They have a Super Bowl team. They literally do. And if the Chargers continue to play well, me personally, the Chiefs
also the Raiders are playing well too. The Raiders as well.
The Chiefs are very much in trouble. I do not think they should be the favorites how they were, coming in. Of course, you have Patrick Mahomes, but right now
the Chiefs might not make.
Just with that defense,
if they continue to lose the way they're losing, especially in a big game like that at home against the Bills, this is a huge game that has a lot of playoff seeding implications, and you lose that way. And they didn't just lose; they got beat. So,
and Mahomes, his interceptions are rising. That's not good.
I feel like the Bills, just to me, from what I'm seeing, I think the Bills are the legitimate favorites right now. Like right now,
I'll give them a slight edge. I do give them a slight edge, though. I do.
But let's rewind. So, Dad, you brought up the Rams and them beating the Bucs and the Cardinals coming in the next week and beating them. Do you feel like the Cardinals now are they the best team in the NFC? Since they're the only.
So here's the thing, and I'm gonna be a little bit biased. So until Tom Brady's not in the picture, I can't really give anything to anybody else 100%, because the experience show us that as long as Tom Brady's out there performing, it's going to be very difficult to call anybody else the best in that particular conference. Because if you look at what, even in a loss, Tom Brady was able to carve up the Rams defense. Let's not forget that. Now, our defense was not as good in that game, and if you think about it, we also lost a couple of turnovers that we should have had in that. So you're talking about huge difference makers in that game. Now, when you look at the addition of Richard Sherman, and we should be getting some people back healthy on the defensive line, I just think that as we go along, our team's only going to get better as long as we stay healthy. And I just think that they're going to have to see us again down the line, no doubt about it. And I think that right now, where we're at in our schedule, we got into a softer part of our schedule. This is the time for us to catch fire and really find those details. And I just think that Tom Brady is the person that it just makes less mistakes than anybody else. And I think that that's going to really you know, go hand in hand as we get closer in the playoffs on what's going to happen. So right now, yeah, I'll say the Cardinals are rolling all cylinders. I do think, you know, just in contrast to all that, I do think that the Cardinals will give my team fits, which is the Bucks, because of the one X factor. They have a quarterback that can move around very well, and unless you go up in points on them, you're going to have a real difficult time with that team with a mobile quarterback who is always looking to throw the ball down the field. So that's going to be tough for us. The only way to neutralize that really is to go up on them and put them in obvious passing downs. But if they got the full playbook, that's going to be a tough team down the stretch. But like I said, still got to give the crown to Brady. But as far as performance, the Cardinals have the best overall performance that I've seen, even dominating the Rams.
I agree. And even with that too, and also there's another team on my radar that I'm kind of watching is the Panthers. Their defensive backfield has gotten better with them adding Gilmore. Like I'm telling
definitely.
It's going to be something to deal with also. And I think, I believe they're 4-1 if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, Jasmine, I didn't say anything about the Saints. Got to be real careful because the Saints, if Jameis keeps the turnovers down, I still think this.
I want a question. When has he not kept the turnovers down?
If he goes 15 turnovers, it's 15 interception. We're good. He's good. Yeah. 15. If he doesn't go 30, he's good.
When it comes to the Saints, I'm not the Saints could be the wild card team, but I think in that division it's Bucks or Panthers in that division because both those teams are playing well. And then the Panthers adding Gilmore. Gilmore is one of the best cornerbacks in the league. They signed him from the Patriots. So that's going to be big. And then they got my guy C.J. Henderson from the Gators. He's also another cornerback. They have a lot of weapons. And then Sam Darnold, he leads the league in rushing touchdowns. So we'll definitely see. But that wraps up our first segment. So we're going to a quick break. You're watching Jasmine's First Impression Sports Talk.
Water. It's everywhere. We drink it, we bathe with it, we cook with it. Coffee's made with water. Toilets won't flush without it. It's used for washing clothes, dishes, utensils, pots, pans, floors, and our teeth. Plants and crops need water, animals drink it, and fish need it too. And don't forget, we can have a lot of fun in the water. Water. What will we do without it? You're watching Jasmine Pollock's First Impression Sports Talk. Stay in touch with Jasmine on her social media channels to see videos, featured guest interviews, and much more. Find Jasmine on LinkedIn by searching Jasmine Pollock. On Instagram, it's at GameSpace_sports. And you can find Jasmine on YouTube by searching GameSpace Sports Content. First Impression Sports Talk airs each Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern. You can see the show live on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook. If you missed the live show, we have you covered. A recorded version is always available on social media. And now, back to more First Impression Sports Talk.
Welcome back to Jasmine's First Impression Sports Talk, and I have my guests Jeremiah and my dad Johnny. Into the second segment, being that we went from the NFL talking about that, now we're going to go to college football. Alabama Roll Tide lost to Texas A&M with 2 seconds on the clock. Texas A&M kicked the last-minute field goal to win the game. So, Jeremiah, I want to start with you. Being that Alabama is finally not number one anymore, what team right now or teams are the best in college football?
It's going to be sad thing to say because, I am a Florida fan after a UM fan. I would say Georgia. I would say Georgia right now. Well, although they are in Florida, but as a Gators fan, as that being my second favorite team, I'll say to Georgia right now, they just have so many units on their team. As for big man align, their offense is running so smoothly, and just their defense is harassing so many teams. They're running up the score, and I can tell, they're just such a very well dominant team. Just telling by their own record right now, they're undefeated, and they are number one right now, if I'm not mistaken. Am I right? Am I wrong? But they just hit that next level and everything else. And I feel like going down the road and everything else, I feel like they can give teams a lot of trouble, even when it comes to playoffs and everything else like that, because we already know Georgia, how it be before when it comes to them, sometimes choking in those moments and probably not getting to that next level. But with this team right here, they just look so just well versed and very dominant to actually get to that next step that they really need to go to.
I 1000% agree with you. Georgia looks like the best team overall in college football right now. Offensively, they are coming. Defensively, I think them and Iowa have both them and Iowa have the best defenses in the country right now. And not to mention, Kirby Smart was once the defensive coordinator for Alabama not too long ago. He was there, and their defense was humming. Now he brought that philosophy to Georgia, and now they're doing the exact same thing. Right now, especially with Alabama losing, that opens up for everyone, because Alabama, they're always number one. They're always the best team, which rightfully so. But now, even when the Gators played Alabama, we had just a little bit. We was there. But my issue with the whole thing is Alabama has been rocky the whole season. It wasn't like, oh, they've been dominating. Of course, teams that we never heard of, colleges we never heard of, they're going to destroy. But then you play in the SEC championships or SEC games, they're not looking as dominant as they once did. And not saying they can't pick it up, because we know Nick Saban, he's the best college football coach in history. We know that. But from what I'm seeing, Georgia is the best team right now. And I know I'm saying that as a Gators fan. And, Gators and Georgia cannot – and I don't even think my team is beating them, genuinely, when we play them in Jacksonville. I do not think we're beating them. And on top of that, I'm going to make a bold prediction. I think Alabama's going to lose more games when they play the Auburns, when they play, LSU. They're going to lose those games, I believe. Dad, what do you think?
Okay, so one thing, I'm going to go back to just history. So I think Alabama losing to Ole Miss is going to definitely create some controversy this year when it comes to the playoffs, because I do believe that one of those other teams that are in the top five, because now Alabama still got a favorable rating. They're in top five. So they're still in position to knock another team out to get right back in the top four. So in my opinion, Alabama losing, do you think that's going to make them take them deeper, or do you think that's going to make that team more focused? And historically, Alabama loses, guess what happens down the stretch? They come back stronger. So I think that the other teams that they have to play are in for it. I will be surprised if Alabama loses another game this year. And I'm not an Alabama fan, but just historically, they have the athletes on the field. Their quarterback situation is kind of shaky. But I do think Alabama is one of those teams, if any team, that can bounce back from that. And I think that teams, it can be kind of dangerous for other teams, because teams are going to think, oh, Alabama's not as good as they used to. And I think that would be the biggest mistake. And I think that the maturity level of the college guys are not as, it's not to that level yet. And I think that they need to be really careful about how they approach playing the Alabama, because I think Alabama's going to get right back in it, because they always get a favorable rating. And I think it's just going to be controversy at the end, because you're going to have more than likely an undefeated team that's not going to make it.
But with that, when you look at, and this is what I was telling Jeremiah before, when you look at Bama, when they lose, so they have these years where they lose. Like, even when LSU just won it 2 years ago, they had that down year. And then, last year they won it. Then I believe this is another down year. Then they're going to win it next year. Like, I feel like that's what Alabama is. They take a year off and then go back to winning it again. But what I'm seeing from them, defensively, they're not the same. How they used to be suffocating everybody. Even last year when they won, they weren't as suffocating as they used to be either. And
And they're getting to the quarterback much quicker this year, it seems like.
Fast forward to now.
Sorry to interrupt, Jazz. It's also tough when you lose. They lose a lot of players to the draft.
But but the thing is, Alabama always knows how to recycle those players. They do that all the time. The problem is right now they don't look as dominant as they did years prior. And when you look at Georgia, who looks like an Alabama type team, they will Georgia, because I feel like in the SEC championship game, Alabama could squeak in there because it's Alabama. But then you play Georgia. Georgia's going to beat them. Genuinely, I feel that. Then if they go deeper, you have teams like Iowa, Cincinnati. Those teams are undefeated and they look good. It's not like they're just, those teams look dominant. Like, seriously, Alabama does not look dominant. On top of that, you lose to an unranked team. That doesn't look good. It doesn't look good at all.
Yeah, that's Texas A&M with Jimbo Fisher. So we can't be caught up with the record, because that record, that's Jimbo. He knows how to coach. And guess what? They play Alabama. Guess what? They got the athletes. They were up for that game. And I think that Alabama was a little flat just by looking at the play. Did they have moments where they could have taken control of the game? Absolutely. And I think that when them and Georgia play, you're not going to have the same Alabama team. I just feel that when those types of games, you're going to get each team's best. Is Georgia the best team right now? I think so. But I think that when it comes down to it, it's going to come down to who can make those last couple of plays. And me, even though I hate to say it, I'm going to go with Saban. And I think right now, until somebody completely knocks him out of the top 5, top 10, or whatever else, I'm going to always think that Alabama's going to be in position to strike at some point throughout the rest of the season.
But think about this, Dad, with that. When you have teams like LSU or Auburn or Texas A&M only lost one game, I believe. Yep. One or two games.
They lost.
If Alabama loses another game, the rankings, Alabama may not even make it to the SEC championship.
That's true. That's true. So absolutely.
You could have a team like Auburn and Texas A&M get right back in it and say, okay, well, we're leading the division. Alabama doesn't even make it to the SEC conference game.
That's true.
But that's going to be a huge thing. But also, not to mention, when you look at the SEC East, now Gators are not winning the SEC East. I'm telling you that now. You have Kentucky and Georgia. They're both undefeated. They're both of those teams are playing good football. That's going to be a huge game when Georgia and Kentucky play.
Oh yeah.
And with that, even Kentucky can go in there and beat that's very possible. And then
Kentucky's not a team to play with either.
But to me, Georgia is the best team right now in the SEC, and then probably in college right now. But you still have Iowa. Oklahoma offensively looks dominant, but defensively, they have no kind of defense to stop anybody. We saw that in the Texas game. Oklahoma is a high-flying offense with no defense. They've always been like that. But that wraps up tonight's show. So thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you, Dad. Thank you, Jeremiah. It's always a pleasure having these conversations with you guys. Thank you, Leon. Thank you, Jay, for the production. We will see you here next Monday on Jasmine's First Impression Sports Talks at 8:30. Good night.